Dude, I am so sick right now. I haven't told anyone. But like,
What do you
so
have?
sneezing in the runny nose before I normally do. It was like 6 a.m. or something. I was like, all right, I have to pee because I had ginger ale, felt a little nauseous. I'm peeing and I'm so dizzy. I'm like losing it. I'm putting my hand on like the window. And as you know, like you can't like stop this task. Once you start peeing,
You got to pee.
Committed. You got to make it to the end. And I'm like, I just need to like finish what I'm doing and get back in bed. And if I can lay down in bed, I can weather through anything.
Sure.
Didn't go like that. I finished peeing and wrapped up, I guess. And then I'm just confused. I don't know what is happening. And I don't know who's hitting me, but I'm being hit. And then I gather while I'm still in it, I'm having a seizure on the bathroom floor.
Oh my God.
And my head's banging against the wall and I'm kind of collapsed and I'm not breathing. And I'm like aware that this is happening, but I don't have like any counter. Like, I don't know, I'm experiencing it in confusion. I feel the hitting on my head and like, like if you do like one of these things, you can't breathe,
Yeah.
That's my situation. I'm like curled up in a ball and not breathing, but I'm banging my head and such. And
like on the bathroom tile.
Yeah, next to the toilet. Like I wrapped up. I didn't pee everywhere or anything, but I come to and I'm next to the toilet on the bathroom tile, just having finished my seizure. That's not ideal. So I get into bed and
what do you mean get into bed?
I stand up, I pick myself up, I dust myself off, and I like, touch all the walls on the way to the bed and everything.
You got health insurance. What are you thinking?
So I lay back down and there's like it's like I don't know how it happened, but I think during the fall I hit my cheek or something because I feel like I've been punched in the cheekbone.
When did this happen? A few days ago? Yesterday morning. It doesn't show anything on your face.
It's true though.
No, I believe it. It's not bad. Yeah.
And
you think Taylor's making it up?
I do not think he's making it up.
Yeah, so I managed to get back to sleep, and all day yesterday I was kind of a wreck. Like I just laid around. I slept in a recliner type of day.
Jeez.
And today I was more in spirits, but I mean to say I was more spirited. Like I was in a good mood, whereas yesterday I was like wiped out. But anytime I tried doing something, 5 minutes in, I'm like, I'm tired.
So you definitely need to go get a brain scan. But I would also want to get your house.
I'm fine.
He's
I would
fine,
also
Kyle.
want to get your house.
You
You need to get your house tested for like radon. You need to get tested for like radon or carbon monoxide or something like that. Like it's a possibility that like maybe we're in an area where like you got gassed or something. Like I would want to know why. I've had a seizure that one time from the concussion when I had that wreck. And it's exactly like that. You're hitting yourself, but there's nothing you can do about it. In my case, I was going like the whole time. It's awful to be out of control of your body. I know exactly. You described it, and I was like, yeah, that's it. It's awful.
Oof.
You got to go somewhere. That's brain trauma or like exposure to some sort of gas or something.
If it was gas,
that could be mini strokes or something. That could be very serious. It could be something that's happening right now. That's getting worse. That like we could arrest. They might say, "Oh, look, you've got a little thing here that we need to go and like up through your thrombosis or whatever in your armpit." And like,
or it could be a whole bunch of nothing.
His brain quit working and he fell to the floor. It was either Jesus or a medical issue. We should go to our doctor, Woody.
Kyle, I've never had a seizure, but I'm going to steal valor and say I have.
You're kind of being a bitch.
Yeah, Woody showed that bathroom floor who was boss, and then he got up, and then he got in bed.
Yeah, I was fine. The floor was cracked. All right.
But, I mean, I would be so scared if I had a seizure. Thank God I've never had to deal with that. Like, I know you guys have both had multiple of them, right?
I had when I was like 8, and I was sucking down helium balloons while sick.
Okay, well, that one, it's like,
we know the cause.
Yeah,
I hit my skull on asphalt going real fast, and my brain was resetting itself over and over.
Yeah, you blue screened.
Yes.
Kernel panic.
So you haven't had anything like this, Woody, in 40 years?
40 years, yeah, that's true.
And it just came out of nowhere, or you felt weird leading up to it all day, other than the sickness?
I knew I was dizzy when I was like walking towards the bathroom, and obviously I knew while I was peeing, it was like I just had to get through this somehow. I just had to, like, I can't wait to get back in bed. Didn't realize I'd be delayed.
Could it be like what isn't lightheadedness, like when you stand up and you feel lightheaded? Is that like your blood pressure getting too low all of a sudden, or is it getting too high all of a sudden? Low, right?
I thought it was low. Now I'm wondering if either could cause it. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think like high blood pressure causes like pain in the head, right? Like a hypertension headache. I've heard about that.
No.
But damn, that's scary. I would be so spooked if that happened to me. I'm less of a man than you, because I would be like, I'd be too afraid to go to the doctor, but I'd be Googling nonstop. And Google, of course, would tell me like, you're dying. Prepare. Here's an ad for a will.
Google tells me exactly what I just said, like with my made up nonsense. It's that it could be some things that are not a big deal, and it could be some very serious things. But in any case, you got to get a hold on it. Like we know now.
Let me follow up on that. Pish posh. You're fine.
If it keeps happening.
If it keeps happening, yeah. But I mean, one and done.
Exactly.
How about this? Good. If I have one,
you might
seizure,
be having miniature strokes caused by. There may be brain. The blood might be cut off.
If I was having brain trouble, I wouldn't have this memory that I do.
No, and miniature strokes wouldn't cause that.
No,
like you wouldn't pass out and have a seizure. If you're having mini strokes, you would have weakness on your left side, right? Numbness. You would have facial drooping on the left side.
Okay, but it could be a lot of scary things. I just Googled. I mean,
or it could be nothing.
I don't go through the list, but it was a scary list.
Woody, Kyle, I don't want to scare our friend.
I looked through a list of seizures,
and
I chose tonic as the one that seemed to fit me the most, and it was no big deal.
Let me ask you something, Taylor. If you've had a brain injury, are you capable of deciding whether you should inform a doctor?
No, but
I don't know if he can get. Can he give consent anymore?
I think he can.
There's a standing consent.
Yeah, with him and anyone around him. There's the rule. Just blanket consent going forward. Yes. If you're fit enough to catch me, you're fit enough to fuck me.
Rules are rules.
Bit?
No, standing consent, I do offer standing consent.
Yeah, of course he does. Are you really honestly freaking out about him having a little tumble in the bathroom where he forgot where he was? Wow. Yeah. Baby Kyle. Wow, somehow this is a big deal to Kyle. I forgot where I was and I couldn't control my body in my bathroom. Wow. Bitch made.
Dude, I think it's like, what do you might be dying?
In all seriousness, it sounds pretty dire. Not really. I was doing that too.
Taylor, we're recording this. This is forever, so maybe put on a
if I die, it's everybody's problem but mine.
And if Woody dies, I'm going to say it was unrelated. If Woody dies all of a sudden, I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm going to be like, was he vaxxed? That's what I'm going to do.
Woody, how many boosters have you had?
2.
Oh my God!
He's too boosted.
Way too long.
He's too boosted.
I'm too
Kyle,
boosted.
you're not boosted, are you?
Fuck no! I got the.
Thank God.
I got the 1.
Thank God.
You got 2.
Well, I got the vaccine, but no boosters.
See, that's the reason I could never have sex with you guys.
I know.
I'm pure blood.
I know. Yeah. Would I be more pure blood if I had Taylor's semen in my ass?
No.
It couldn't hurt.
It's worth testing.
Damn, I'm trying to put myself in the headspace of having a seizure, and I always thought a nice part about the seizure, weird to say a nice part about it, but like that I didn't think that you were there at all, that you were just kind of like shaking, and then after the whole thing concludes, you're like, oh my God, that was horrible. But to know that you're in it and thinking my face is grating on the gravel the way you said, or Woody's like my head's banging on the tile, that is unbelievably scary. Like you have to, in the moment, part of you has to be do you have the cognition to be like, this will end, or like this is
he okay? Oh wait, why is my head getting hit? Oh, it's me. That's like the evolution that I went through.
That's so bizarre.
My sole thought was, damn it, I'm scratching my face on the asphalt. Like I can't tell how badly.
I got a date tonight.
Yeah,
Was-
I mean,
yeah,
you know.
you did.
Yeah.
I remember the lore.
Yeah, that
But
real
was
fun.
there was the threat of what was happening to you guys almost muted in the moment where like it didn't?
I didn't have any thoughts beyond what's happening right now in this microcosm of a moment in which my body is out of my control and I'm very afraid. And I remember screaming like it more of a but it's like interrupted by because I'm struggling for breath. It's hard to breathe because I guess I've lost.
Everything's seizing.
I don't know what a seizure is, but to me, it just seems like uncontrolled muscle impulse throughout my body, rapid firing, almost like you're being tased. So I can't operate my diaphragm to fucking breathe. And I probably had the breath knocked out of me from the crash anyway.
I remember,
Wow.
Again, it's sort of an unreliable memory, but what I think I remember is maybe kind of snoring. And of course, there's the like, why am I getting hit? Oh shit, I'm having a seizure. That's what I keep hitting. I'm shaking. And then it was like, if I don't breathe soon, this will get serious. Like I had that thought.
After
I
it's
think you
like
really need to go for a checkup. I think you really need to go for a diagnostic checkup.
let it slide. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like when you guys were doing that, like
What if it
seizing
happens when you're flying or on your bike?
I wouldn't launch if I was that dizzy. I was just.
What if you become dizzy?
Yeah,
he wouldn't up in the air. He's flying. He's having a good time.
I would be.
He's
more
doing
responsible.
acrobatics. He does while he's barrel rolling. He might
Actually, that occurred to
normal
me.
dizziness.
I was like, what
with
if this
scary
happens when I'm
dizziness?
doing acrobatics over the lake? And I'm like, well, I guess I just land where I land, and the boat hopefully is there for me.
No, you die.
No, based. That's whatever happens. I love that. Yeah, well then I guess I'll fall in the lake and drown.
Yeah, life preserver will go.
After it's done and you finish seizing and all that, in the period like that you go back to normal, does your mind feel the same? Is it like you snap back, or is it like waking from a dream that it takes a bit to be like, oh my god, that just happened?
Yeah, I was processing what happened, and it was kind of a all right, like we have to get back in bed. Like I have a mission to accomplish.
Yeah.
I need to get onto my feet.
Jackie's in bed, I suppose, waiting on you.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
Of course not.
Yeah, it's
That's
just,
what we do. Man.
And she'll never know.
She's gonna find out soon.
Kyle's gonna text
Not necessarily. She doesn't watch the show.
She
Thank God.
doesn't know.
I wouldn't do that, but someone should. God damn, dude. I'm worried.
He's fine.
Yeah. So I sort of came to, and I was like, all right, well, that's behind me now. I have to get into bed, and I want to go back to sleep and improve.
Oh my god, that sounds horrible. Having a seizure sounds like a 2 thumbs down, awful experience.
1 out of 10.
What's the news on the seizure front? No more.
Yeah,
Nothing?
no more. I'm good.
Good.
See, I knew I was right to ignore
I laid
it.
hands upon him
Mhm.
through the
Dude.
You lay hands on him.
Done.
Look,
See, I got blurry there. That was the Lord.
So I don't like. I got this vibe that people were talking about it. I don't check the subreddit or anything, but like Wings of Redemption reached out to me on Facebook.
Really?
My mom called me while I was like working on the fish tank or something. It was a bad
You
time.
tell Winks he caused it.
They know Wings he caused it.
Yeah. You're like, it's because of you.
I was worried about that 10 grand you're demanding.
Yeah.
So I thought about that. Remember, I guess he told Harley that we owed him money. And I was like, that is insane. We definitely don't. We paid him like everything. Now I kind of remember after he left the show, he felt entitled to revenues from shows like that he wasn't on. Like in the future, he wanted, revenue from today. He thinks we owe him for shows he's not on.
I think he would rather just
Seinfeld.
we keep talking about him perpetually.
Yeah, right.
So he says silly things.
That's
Anyway.
probably true. But anyways,
Maybe that's
no
where
more.
it came from.
Even
No more
when
seizure.
when the troll channels don't even care anymore, he throws an insult at us.
I think that what I've heard, when your brain survives a seizure, it comes back stronger than ever.
I mean, people are saying that.
Yeah. You get.
I heard
sounds
the
like
opposite.
you
I
go to the
actually
doctor,
heard
they shoot you up with a seizure vaccine. You seize out. Now your body knows how to handle it.
no. I
Next
actually heard
time
the
it happens, you're going to
opposite.
fall on that soft, foamy carpet that you put on the outside of the shower. It's so comfortable.
I was
Bang
thinking
my
it
head
was
on.
more like a pie oh my situation where she'll bounce back this time, but it takes a little out of them every time. So
Pie oh my? I don't think I get this
Tony's
reference.
horse.
The Sopranos
had the
horse.
colic.
Oh,
And he
yes,
bounced back,
yes.
sick all the time, bills, eventually a little house fire is going to.
Horses are a good way to spend money.
And if you haven't had any since then, right, Kyle? I know you've had panic attacks where you fall out or
Yeah, that's a whole
pass
other
down.
thing. That's like your fight flight response is miswired.
Yeah,
or
what is
whatever
that
the fuck.
experience like? Could you walk through it?
Yeah. So there's like levels to it.
Mhm.
It's usually triggered by one of them was a fight with my dad when I was maybe 18, 19. I was moving out and we're having this big fight about just money and just all
It's
sorts
verbal
of shit.
though.
Yes. Oh yeah, nothing physical, but we're yelling and he's like, "Well, just fucking go." He's like kicking me out of the house and he might have said something mean. And I'm like, "I'm going anyway. You're not kicking me out. I'm leaving. Don't act like you're kicking me out when I'm." And anyway, he said something mean or something, and I could feel like, it's just, it's a little bit like when you stand up too fast and you start getting that gray out where your vision comes down to like a toilet paper roll, and that's part of it. But there's also another part that's absolute terror. Because you can't breathe, you can't catch your breath, you're almost hyperventilating, and a countdown for me has begun that I can only arrest with cold water to my face. If I can do that, that's a literal shock to my system. Everything, we're good now. I need that because I don't know about you, but I hate having cold water thrown on my fucking face. It completely it snaps my brain back into the real world.
Mhm.
But my brain thinks we're dying in this moment. Like a bully did it once. I stood up to a bully and I was like, I thought I was like, all right, well, this is the part where he beats the shit out of me. Here it comes. But fucking do it. And he didn't do it, but I'm in that.
And then
mode.
I pounded him. And
No. Then I went to the bathroom and had diarrhea while I almost passed out. Because I'm a brave boy who stands up to bullies.
That bully's gonna think twice.
I would if I knew that
Literally.
was on the cards.
Yeah, literally that. But in that, if it goes too much, usually if I'm alone, I'll lose consciousness if I can't get that water in my face, and I'll completely collapse to the floor. Now that I'm older and it's happened enough, and I know that it's coming, if a sink is close enough, I'm going for that. But if there's a bed or a couch nearby, I will quickly lay down because that's
the easiest way to do it.
It's terrifying to be. Woody's been choked out before. It's a little scary at one point because you're leaving the world. There's that scariness to having a panic attack too, because I know I'm leaving for a while. I'm going full out unconscious. I'm going to wake up and not know how this happened. I fell on asphalt before, just like fell over and woke up with like skint elbow and like my head sore, and it's like fuck.
When's the last
nobody saw that. Yeah,
when's
when
the
it
last
happened.
time you dealt with one of these, like as an adult?
2 years ago, I got a text message from a loved one that it made it seem like someone I loved had cancer, but they didn't. And it was somebody else. They're showing me somebody else's test results, and it's like, fucking preface this shit before you send me all this horrible. It's like paperwork that says I'm dying, and it's like from a loved one. So I start having this panic attack, and my rowing machine was in an awkward place in my living room. And so I had been stepping over it every day, and I needed to make that step to get to the sink, but I couldn't physically raise my leg up high enough to get over it. And I tumbled over it backwards and hit my head backwards on the hardwood. And when I woke up, my legs were up in the air on the rowing machine, and I'm laying there on the floor just going, fuck, because you fall really awkwardly when you have no control. It's like being tased. So elbows and knees, all the stuff that you normally don't allow.
Up. Yeah.
You hit the pointy hard shit right where and the back of my head just eats shit on the floor. So now I've got like a little concussion type thing on top of
Sure.
the other thing. So, that was the last time, about 2.5 years ago. I was at 2 houses ago. Yeah.
You're on a good
curious,
streak then.
when you woke up, because I've been choked out a couple of times, I wake up so embarrassed. And it's not even embarrassing. Like if you're training, this happens, right? No big deal. I've been choked out intentionally. Like, all right, I'm going to sit in a chair, and this guy who's really good at rear naked chokes is going to put one on, and I'm going to go to sleep. And then I wake up, everybody's looking at me. Everyone seems to know what's going on except me, and that registers in my mind as super embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's because you don't have. Later on, you realize, well, that's not that embarrassing. We were all in on the joke. But in that moment, your brain doesn't have not just the prior 12 seconds when you were out. It doesn't have the last day maybe to play with. You're you. You know who these people are to some extent.
I forgot where I was.
But you forgot that you agreed to be choked out. You don't know why is everybody looking. You're just boom. It's like coming out of a dead sleep. And there's people there, and you didn't expect them to be there. Even if they're your friends, it's like, what the fuck you doing in my room? There's a moment of terror.
Yeah, that sounds harrowing. I would not.
Oh, it's easy
not
to
envious
do.
of that.
Oh, come on. You've never done it?
I've never had a
got
big
choked
pass out. No, I've never been
choked unconscious.
No.
You should do it. It's a little painful. Like you got to squeeze somebody hard because it's I don't know. It's an interesting thing to experience so that you're ever in a self-defense scenario, you kind of recognize when you've got someone out so you don't kill them maybe, but also so that you're not as afraid of that technique. Once you understand what it is, it's almost like getting pepper sprayed yourself before you start carrying.
I spend a lot of time day to day in fear of techniques.
If you gotta rumble with somebody in your billiard room one night, I promise your rear naked choke is your go-to, unless you get the stick out. You get the hockey stick, start spinning it like Blade.
I'm gonna go gun mode.
No, you still have your goalie gear. No, take the guns out of there because that's not funny. You still have your goalie gear.
I
like
have
all of it.
I have so many hockey sticks downstairs. My pads are all gone, but
I need you in full pads.
My blocker. I have my glove and my blocker and my pad or my sticks downstairs. The pads got rotted out and ruined after sitting in the garage for like 13 years.
We used to do this thing in high school where you sit at your desk. If I remember correctly, I think someone sits behind you or in front of you. No, I know what it is. All right, you stand up, put your back against the wall, and someone presses on you hyperventilate, and then the person in front of you presses on your chest, like where your lungs are, to squeeze all the air out of your lungs, and you immediately go unconscious. That was a game we used to play all the time.
Oh, what a terrible game. You can't even win.
No, you knock each other unconscious.
We used to do that
very
same game,
quickly.
except you put your hands on their, is it the jugular or carotid? One of those.
Yeah, they're like the same. One's the blood vessel and one's like the blood, whatever. They're the same.
Artery versus vein, I think.
You can be the first person to choke me unconscious next time we're together physically if you play Age of Empires 2 with me.
No deal.
No deal. Oh, fuck. How about this? How about trade deal? Tented hands. I play Rust with you. You play AoE with me. Look at the tented hands. This is a deal.
How much Rust versus how much AoE? Like, are we talking about apples and oranges here? Or are we talking about?
I'm not trying to scam you. I'm saying we play 4 hours of Rust. You play 4 hours of AoE.
Okay. See now you've got me on board.
Now I've got you. See, I led with something absurd to get you on board.
Fair
That's what
deal.
it takes. That's what it takes.
That's a fair deal. I think it's good.
Well,
the art of the deal. You just witnessed it, everybody.
That's the art of the deal. That's it. And we didn't even have to buy his book.
I read his book.
Is it good?
I
bet there's some good stuff.
Yeah, I read it when I was like 20 or something. Like Donald Trump he owned the casinos in Atlantic City, 2 towns over, and he like employed half of my teachers and shit like that. He was like a big figure where I grew up in Ocean City, New Jersey.
Makes sense.
And I read his book.
That's a bad one.
Kyle, what were the circumstances of your seizure?
Concussion. Came off a 4-wheeler going like 40, head hit the asphalt, face hit the asphalt. That was terrible. I was in my boxers and a t-shirt.
Sounds terrible.
And I like overcorrected because a wasp landed on my thigh and I had boxers on, so I figured it was about to sting my dick.
Mm-hmm.
Came off the thing. It went up on like the right 2 tires and was like, it felt like it was about to roll over, and I didn't want it on top of me on asphalt. And it was probably a foolish thing. Maybe I could have corrected it, but I just kind of hopped off and just fell off really. And my right elbow, and maybe I think my left knee, right elbow, this part of my face, this part of my face,
No helmet?
and the top of my head. No, all hit asphalt. And
you break some teeth?
No teeth. It's funny you mentioned that.
That's
I was
lucky.
It's stupid. It sounds silly and almost unbelievable, but I was bleaching my teeth at the time.
While you were riding, or like
While
recently? Oh,
I was multitasking. I was bleaching my. I was
You had like
bleaching my
a
teeth.
mouth guard in there?
Yeah, I had a mouth guard in. I
Those
was
Crest
getting
white
ready.
strips just
I was
folded
getting
over.
ready. Yeah, no. It was an actual like insertable mouth guard that
You're
you filled
holding
up
that
with
blue
gel.
light.
No, I
driving one-handed.
The way I remember it, I was actually using my retainer as the bleaching tray because you could do that. And I had my full retainer in, and I was like getting ready for a date or something like that. So I was like getting dressed while bleaching my teeth, and then like going to check the mail on my four-wheeler or something like that. And en route, I crashed that fucking thing. And when I came to, I don't know if it was 2 seconds I was on the ground or 2 minutes, but when I came to, the four-wheeler was 50 yards away. It rolled on away, but I was seizing uncontrollably and fully aware of it and sobbing uncontrollably during the seizure out of fear of the seizure.
did
I
you
had
have an
enough.
out-of-body
Like,
experience at all, or were you?
I felt like I was just trapped. I felt trapped inside of my head, just watching this happen to me. Like I had no control over like stopping it, and that's terrifying because I wasn't just shaking a little. It was a very violent shake. And I remember internally thinking, "Oh, I'm scuffing my elbow up on the asphalt as I seize. I'm scuffing my skin up on asphalt because
So you did have that out of like when I was a kid, I fell down the steps once, and I swear I could see the back of my head, right? Like I could see like the.
I was in here. I was in
Okay.
here for sure and experiencing things, but I had no control over my own body. But I was fully aware of what was happening to my body, and like I said, I remember thinking as I'm seizing that my elbow is just kind of grinding on asphalt, and I don't like that. And when that stopped after who knows how long, I'm guessing 40 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, I realized my right arm doesn't work and my left leg doesn't work very well. It's like the nerves were jarred or something like that. And virtually paralyzed to the point where I was a real mess when I stumbled into the house. My face was all scraped up and bloody, and like this arm barely worked and this leg almost didn't work.
You didn't
I
go
had
to
a
the doctor?
Oh yeah, I went to the doctor. Oh yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say you really dodged a bullet if you hit your head, had a seizure, and then thought I got to take these white strips off and get dressed for this date. Because you would have been sitting there
mind all this.
sitting there at Applebee's, sweating bullets, blood dripping out of your ear. No, I'm fine. What was that?
If there's ever a question about your vanity, Kyle, you protected your teeth, but not your brain, and that was
a little bit.
priorities.
It's funny. I actually had what I thought was a near-death experience, so I was actually kind of relieved, knowing I thought I saw my end, right? And so this is what I'll tell you the story. So probably about 2 or 3 months ago, I had an anxiety attack, and I had never had an anxiety attack. I thought people that had anxiety attacks were just like, just stop, whatever, stop thinking about it. No, it's actually something that actually affects you physically. I had no idea. So what happened, I was sitting on my bed and all of a sudden I got shortness of breath, couldn't breathe, and my heart started pounding out of my chest. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I trying to gain my breath, and then I finally told my girls, like, yo, you gotta call somebody. This is real. And as she's on the phone with them, she's talking to them. She's relaying messages, and then you get even more worked up. And then my hands started going numb, my feet started going numb, and it started locking up. And I'm like, oh, I'm having a heart attack. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm having a heart attack. I'm gonna die. And so in that moment, in my head, I'm like, oh, this is what life flashing before your eyes is. And so like I thought about my kids. I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna get to see them again. But like not once was I like, there's a God. Like that was kind of when it all settled. I was like, that's a cool feeling, that thinking I was about to die, I was kind of at peace. Just like I was like, shit, I'm not gonna see my kids, but like, yo, this is it. I looked at her, I was like, yo, I love you. Like this is it. Like I love you. Like, it was an insane feeling that it's hard to describe, but knowing that you can go at peace it's a great feeling, man.
Was there a root cause to your anxiety attack, or is there no real understanding of how it came on?
I've seen a couple people about it, and I guess the best possibility the best explanation we came up with was that I've retired, and I'm like 2 years into my retirement, and I've been so on the go. Like I've done so much stuff, like with my album, with my podcast, with all my side business ventures. Like I've never been more busy in my life. That on top of like a lot of past family issues kind of accumulated over years, and I've kind of took the brunt of a lot of it. And I've never been one of those cats to kind of like verbally express how I feel. I kind of just like, it's not a big deal. And so, I still feel like that. So I'm unsure if that is a huge variable in it, but I think all of that stuff together, just years and years of kind of packing stuff in, kind of just came out. Maybe, I don't know.
Is that the only one you've ever had?
Yeah, it's the only one I've ever had. Yeah.
Man, I get about 2 or 3 a year, and they vary in intensity. A really bad one, I go full unconscious and pass out and hit the ground. That's happened 4 times, I would say, roughly in my life. A really light one, I sense it coming on because I get the tingling. I start seeing like stars. Like, if you stand up too quickly, sometimes you kind of see stars a little bit. I get that. I break into a cold sweat, and I've got to go into like a breathing exercise to like a Lamaze class or something to like calm myself and like get myself oxygenated, I guess, and sit down and like I'll recover from it. And then there's like a mid ground where like I'll black out for a moment and like fall down, and then but I'm still semi-conscious. It's a fucking nightmare. And I felt really embarrassed about it when I was a kid, and it would happen because it would happen in inopportune times, right? Like you'd be trying to stand up to a bully and your body's giving up on you and you look like a pussy. It's the worst. And then I remember watching Sopranos. Suck. Yeah, like I'm here to stand up. Like I'm ready to do this.
Did that happen once where you're confronting a bully? I don't think you've ever told that.
Yeah. I had this guy had.
How old are you?
10th grade, so
about
maybe
16,
15, 16, something like that. And this guy's much bigger than me, and he's likes to fight guy, that as Jim Rome would say, and likes to fight guy, and it's like. And he's also a big bully, right? He's just a jerk. He's an asshole. And he's been giving me shit for a while. And finally, I'm like, I'm ready to take an ass whooping and maybe hit this guy a couple times. And this is going to be it. I'm tired of living every day in a little bit of fear of this guy and trying to avoid him and everything. I'd rather get this ass whooping over with. And I'm going to fucking hurt him in the midst of it. I'm going to pop him in the nose. I'm going to poke an eye or bite something. I'm going to do whatever I can do to hurt this guy. And he's not going to want this again. I'm never going to want it again, but he's not going to fuck with me anymore. And like, I shoved the guy in the chest. I'm like, fucking let's do it. Come on then. Fucking let's do it. And I just start locking up. And I'm able to talk. It sort of fizzles out and we go our separate ways. But I barely was able to walk away. I go to the bathroom and just sat on the toilet with like my pants on, with like my and just trembling. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid of him. I was just so stressed out. My body was just giving up. And I remember watching Sopranos for the first time. I don't remember when, but when I was an adult. And it really made me feel better about having panic attacks that Tony Soprano, the big bad gangster, the head of the crime family, had this same problem. And then I never went to therapy, but watching him go to a make-believe therapist, shed a little bit of light on like what my issues were. I thought that was pretty cool. But
was there like a trend of the kind of stimuli you experienced that always triggered it?
It's extreme stress. It's extreme stress. It could be physical or like situational, but it's extreme stress situations. Anything like that. My dad was yelling at me one time when I was like 18, and I was just having a really big argument, and I had a panic attack then. But then, of course, I had that panic attack in court that time when they were saying that my concealed carry permit wasn't legitimate, and they were talking about like putting me in jail for just, open carrying my pistol. And I know I'm in the right, but this judge isn't hearing it. I had a panic attack then, and they had to drag me out of the courtroom. Not drag me, but carry me, really. It's been all kinds of stuff.
I'm so glad I've never had something like that.
That's the biggest thing that happened to me, which because like I would hear those stories and be like, man, come on, bro. But like when you have one, I guess it's just the ignorance, man. But when you have one, it physically enables you. Like there's nothing you could do. Like
your body quits.
You can't think your way out of it. You can try, but it's just like you just have to let it take its course. And to not know it's a panic attack is the scariest shit. When you know, it's the kind of like, okay, I know what's going on. I know this will pass. But like if it's your first time, you think you're gonna die.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fucking scary. I passed out one time outside on concrete, and when I don't remember hitting the ground, but I remember waking up and like I had, when you're awake and you fall, like we've got like some programming in us that makes us fall right for the most part, and roll and not take any injuries. But I fell hard. I went like elbow first into concrete and then hit my head, and I wake up and I'm like, oh, fuck, fuck, I'm all bleeding and shit. Like those are the worst.
Yeah, that sucks. Have you ever had that, Woody?
No. I wasn't even going to share. One time, I was an adult.
You're
not call anymore? Myself like 28. Yeah, right. I stopped. And I worked at Cisco, and Cisco had a policy of firing something like 10% of the staff every quarter. And you think to yourself, like, well, how hard is it to be top 90%, right? Like that, whatevs. Mm-hmm. But if you reprocess that and say like 40% of the team gets fired every year, it's like, it just takes, be bottom half one time, be the one guy that misses dead. And it was early in my Cisco career, and I've thought about this a lot. Like, one of the root causes is I was a good deal smarter than my boss and not nearly mature enough not to be an asshole about it. So every time, like, he would just be leading a meeting or something, and it just seemed like he couldn't go 10 minutes without making a math error or a simple mistake. And I wasn't cool about it. I was mocking because I was being an asshole. And to my surprise, I found myself on a performance improvement plan or something like that. They had something called a work improvement plan and a performance improvement plan, whichever one was more minor I was on. And it just shook my world. All of a sudden, like I was an asshole. I was in trouble at work. And like financial success and career success was a part of my sense of self-worth. And that was dented. And I one night I wet my bed, right? And then this won't be memed. Now it will. But it was just like,
how old were you? Like 30?
28, something like that. I think I'd been at Cisco for about 2 years. And my wife was wicked cool about it. She was just like, all right, we can clean this up. It's all good. I don't know. I thought she'd maybe beat me like my mom. Who knows what the hell I was thinking.
Did your mom ever beat you when you wet the bed?
Oh, obviously. That wasn't allowed. But
and that's like the number one thing of like one of the things of indicating abuse is like bedwetting.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things.
Have you ever seen
to get beaten for bedwetting, like that seems almost cyclical.
That's literally literally the impetus for the movie Red Dragon, the Hannibal Lecter movie about the killer who goes and murders the family and puts glass in their eyes. He was raised by, I think, his grandmother, and he would have these flashbacks to when she was like, look what you did, you filthy little animal, stretch it out. Stretch that little, and she's talking about his penis. She's like, stretch it out. She's got big scissors. She's like, I'm gonna cut it off. I'm gonna cut it off if you do that again, you filthy little animal. And he's like going through. He's doing both sides of this conversation as a grown man with pantyhose on his head while he benches about 300. Right. So he's doing her voice, and then he's doing his voice, like, no, Granny, no, I won't do it again. Kink, kink. Like it's fucking intense. So I'm glad you didn't go that route.
Yeah, well, my childhood wasn't quite as bad as that guy's. She just
stretch it out.
She never. What did she call us? You're filthy and stuff.
Filthy
she didn't
little
do
animal.
that. She was just mad at me, and she'd yell at me, and sometimes hit me while she was changing the bed. And then when she finished cleaning the bed, then I was out of trouble.
I have to ask, did she ever rub your face in it like a dog?
No, like a puppy or something. No, she didn't do that.
Why did you have to ask?
Well, because I know some of the other
Asked him-
things that she's done to him.
got you.
So
This was the kind lady we heard speaking to Alexa a moment ago.
Right.
So my wife was way better than my mother was. She just cleaned it, sort of never mentioned it again. And
Your wife's awesome.
Like, I'm incredibly blessed to do what I do. I've always been kind of like all right, well, this sucks. What can we do to fix it to move forward? And I'm a very like forward moving kind of person because it's all you can do. You know, I was very stressed the day it happened. I drank a lot, had a big panic attack, sorted all my feelings out. But then, yeah, day two, it's time to figure out what we're
Did
gonna
you
do.
literally have a panic attack?
Yes.
Wow. Can you talk about it? Like what is? Did you fall to the ground? Like that kind of panic attack?
Well, I don't know how big do we want to go into this. It's really, really hard to explain.
Kyle gets those too, so he'll understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I go
Oh,
unconscious. Yeah.
He passed out in the
crazy.
courtroom. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that was a different courtroom. Just to be clear, that was when I was 20.
This has happened many
21. Yeah, I went down in a couple of courtrooms.
Sometimes you just drive by. He's like a fainting goat.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no.
Nice.
The incident Taylor's talking about is when it's like, I don't know what it's called, maybe arraignment or something like that. It's like the first part of like federal court when they're like reading out all of the charges, and I hadn't heard some of them before, and I was just like, and I certainly hadn't heard them come out of I'd heard them come out of my lawyer's voice, who was like, oh yeah, and there's this thing, don't worry about that, that's getting squashed right away, and then there's this thing, we talked to ATF, they're like, if it were me, I'd go to court on that because that one's bullshit. Don't worry about that. And then there's this little thing and this little thing, and the maximum for those are this and that. And I'm just like, all right, so that's very calming. And then you get to court, and the prosecutor is like, and this and that and the other while doing this, and then it just keeps going for like 8 more charges. And I like whisper to my lawyer, I'm about to go unconscious. You've got 60 seconds to get me a chair.
Nice. Very nice.
And he's like, can we get a chair?
He just fell over.
Is that how it went down? Did they get you a chair?
They got me a chair. I stayed conscious, but I needed the chair.
Fanning yourself. So yeah, you're among at least one. I've never had a pass out like that. It sounds terrifying and awful. Was it something like that you experienced that day?
It's kind of weird. Up until I was like, I'm not trying to derail too much. Up until I was 30, I've never had any mental issue ever in my life. I've never had anxiety, depression, anything like that. I'm just a rock solid, stable mind. And then when I was 30, I decided, oh wow, people talk about mushrooms. Let's try like a fuck ton of these. And after that, I've had some problems, and one of those was that I experienced a panic attack, which led to me being able to experience more. So when I experience a panic attack, it's really hard to explain, or maybe it's not. Maybe normal people understand this. I've never felt like terror in my life. Like generally, I feel when something bad happens, I usually feel like a nervous excitement, and it usually like propels me forward. Like I want to do something. Like oh cool, whatever. But I guess when I have a panic attack, it's just it's this feeling of absolute and total certainty that you're about to die. I don't know why or how. That's just like, and it's hard to explain what that feels like, because generally when you associate like near death, like if I'm in my car and like a truck tries to merge into me, like the adrenaline will get pumping and I'll be like, ooh, brakes, whatever. And you're very, very excited. This is not like that kind of excitement at all. It's just a very depressive, horrible feeling that like starts to go through your body that like, fuck, everything is over. And I think my biggest fear at the time was that I know how inefficient Twitch is and how many different institutions exist inside Twitch. And I wasn't sure because the departnering came from the legal team. I didn't know if there was a permaban working its way through the other part of the system. So I was kind of in limbo there because I wasn't sure if a big ban was coming. And that uncertainty is something is really stressful for all humans.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody likes uncertainty.
Of course.
Yeah,
So,
it's your fight or flight system being out of whack, and it just goes to the max, and kind of it can't do either. Like I have some panic attacks where I'm able to like use some breathing techniques and kind of like focus and pull myself like right the ship and pull out of it. But sometimes it's like we're going down, everyone brace for impact. Like I need to find a couch or the floor quickly because like I have passed out, and like normally when you trip and fall, like you break your fall, but when you go unconscious, you just collapse like a house of cards. So like I've fallen on like concrete before one time and just like fucked my elbow up and like
die. Dude, falling from head height is deadly.
Yeah, I fell
from what height? I didn't hear that.
Head height.
Head
Like,
height,
just being
6
head
feet.
height.
Just
Hitting your head on the ground, you're fucked.
it's not
Well,
uncommon.
the ground might be in trouble for me.
Fighters, they can get hurt because they collapse in a bad way, right? Like, you're not supposed to land on your shoulder like that or bend your knee the wrong way. And if you're just out, like knocked out, like a fighter would be, they often like bust an ACL, even though it was a hit to the chin.
You fall like that Tom Segura video where he just becomes a crumpled spider. Oh God, I could see that video in my head. It was such a bad injury.
I think when you get knocked on like a concussion, I think that when you get knocked out, I think your body has a response where you do a particular thing where you stiffen up or something.
Response.
That's why you see like when people get knocked out, they just like go down and they're just like looking very inhuman, very weird.
It can be weird for refs because the fencing response can be mistaken in some situations for a defensive posture. Like they're still defending themselves, maybe trying to hold you off, but that's not what happens. You know, I'm just out cold with one arm.
You know who I feel bad for in Ultimate Fighting is like the guys who have embarrassing fencing responses. Like some of the guys like fully erect, torqued. You're like, that guy's out. That's a turgid, powerful response. Some of them look like they're like casting a spell. Once they're falling down, it's like, dude, that guy's got a bitch fencing response. And everybody's laughing at
Poor guy with a limp-wristed fencing response.
Yeah, very effeminate fencing response. Loser. He lost and he sucks. Yeah.
To your point about the anxiety, like I haven't had a panic attack so far, but I've had like stress in my life, and the biggest stresses are when I'm not the solution, right? Like if I'm managing someone and my team has this problem, or if it's just out of my hands, if it's someone else's decision, if I can work and fix it, then that's not the stress level. That's not my big problem. You know, that puts me in work mode. If I'm just waiting to see what someone else deals my way, that's crushing. That's so hard to work with.
Yeah, exactly the same. And I've heard that's pretty common, that like the difference between there's a book about I don't know if it's called The Upside of Stress. I don't remember. But apparently a lot of the traditional thoughts of stress are supposedly incorrect, that being stressed is bad or being stressed for long periods of time is bad, that we always think this because cortisol is negative. But supposedly, the argument that this book made, I've had a friend summarize this book to me, and then I read a few paragraphs. I don't know the whole book. But supposedly the argument that this book goes on to make is that stress is only bad when you feel stressed and you don't have the tools to deal with it. And when I think back to a lot of my life, I have, because a lot of people always ask me, like, oh, how do you deal with stress, blah, 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 blah. And like, I just, by the nature of how I've come up, like I've always kind of been on my own and figuring things out. Like if I've got like some stressful events, they usually are all like problems that can be solved. And it's like, that's like an exciting thing for me. Like, holy shit, like I just got banned on Twitch. Like, where else can I make money from? Like, do I need to start doing shirts? Do I need to go back to building computers? Like, can I push my YouTube harder? Like, well, what other platforms can I stream on? Like, it's usually like, okay, well, what can we do to solve the problem and move forward? And that can be like exciting. As long as you feel like you have the tools to deal with whatever adversarial thing is presented to you, I don't think the stress is usually as bad. Sometimes it can spur you on to like some kind of greater action. Yeah.
Titus,
if you never got stressed, you wouldn't get anything done.
Yeah, Titus, the comedian, I think we've had him on the show. He has this routine. I can't deliver it like he does, but he's like, you know, people are worried about anxiety. That's how the mortgage gets paid. And somehow that burned into my head. Like, yeah, sometimes actually that's how the mortgage is paid. I've got a little anxiety. I got to get shit done. It's motivating.
Sometimes. To be clear, the long-term anxiety that could come about of just being perpetually fucked in life, though, is not a good. Like the anxiety that I have now as a streamer is always exciting because I've got a plethora of options available to me. 12 years ago, when I was falling behind on my house payments, when my ex-girlfriend was pregnant, and when my job fucking sucked, that anxiety was not good. I didn't feel spurred on to action. I just felt like my life was completely fucking over, and there was nothing good about that. So there are differences. It totally depends on like where you're at in life in terms of like what can feel exciting. I understand that for sure.
I'm interested in what you said with. You said like up till 30, you were rock solid. You never really had stress, anxiety issues. And then you did a bunch of mushrooms. Usually you hear like the Joe Rogan kind of crowd being like, oh, you got to do this to recenter and get your cheat. I don't know the language.
Upgrade your RPG character permanently.
Yeah, something like whatever Joe Rogan would say. So like what, you didn't experience that at all? Did you have a really bad time? And
I mean, I upgraded myself. I unlocked a whole set of feelings and emotions that I didn't know existed. But the problem is a lot of those are negative. So because like up until that, like I'm serious, I've never been depressed or I've never had anxiety. Like I didn't even have a concept of what was out or like anything like that. Basically just like, or go ahead. What were you saying?
No, so I was saying that's wild that you never experienced that. And then was it shortly after you did all the mushrooms, you started to experience this?
No, it was like 3 months later, actually. I did, and it almost seems like maybe they were disconnected, but I have a hard time believing that. So basically I had one trip where I'd smoked a bit, I'd eaten some edibles, and I was like, okay, mushrooms must be like weed, I guess, maybe a little stronger. So I ate, and a stupid amount of mushrooms. And then I had like an unimaginably fucking insane, like life-changing, life-altering trip that is indescribable in any words that I can think of. And then 3 months later, I was downstairs and I was sitting at my desk, and I wish I could describe this better, but I'm sitting at my desk and I'm not doing anything. I have no stress right now. My life is fine. I'm thinking like doing emails or something dumb. And all of a sudden I just feel like this little like, oof, like this little tick. And I'm like, oof, that was weird or whatever. And I remember thinking exactly at that moment that I'd had a friend that had described panic attacks, and we make fun of him all the time for like, you're such a loser who gets panic attacks. I remember thinking like, oh my God, like, wouldn't that be funny if I was getting a panic attack after making fun of him for years for it? And then in the next second, I was like, yeah. And then in the next second, I was like, oh, something is happening. I wonder if I'm memeing myself into a panic attack. Like, this is really dumb. I'm going to just get up and go upstairs because something is happening. And then the process of me standing up and starting to walk up the stairs, this horrible feeling of dread just like washes over me. And I guess supposedly I was hyperventilating, but I don't remember any of this. I just remember walking up the stairs and feeling absolutely certain that I was about to die. I walked upstairs, I sat on my couch, and it was just the most horrible fucking feeling in the world as I just sat there like staring into nothing, like feeling like so absolutely fucking horrible. And that was like my first ever panic attack, set off by nothing and just, yeah, ugh.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
This doesn't sound like an upgrade at all to me. Like,
No,
I
well, the
upgraded.
upgrade-
I learned about weight gain and gray hair and weakness.
The biggest, I don't know how deep we want to run down the philosophy line. The biggest upgrade that I got was in one part of my trip. So there's a feeling called there's a term called ego death. And what ego death is that if you consume enough of certain psychedelic substances, what happens is that you kind of have like an operating system that runs your reality. And if you take enough of a certain drug, you can kind of break down your upper level associations with that. And it gives you the chance to kind of, I'm going to say, step back, but kind of like see like, oh shit, like everything I see normally in life is like super filtered through all of my senses or whatever. I'm trying to explain this in the least like super druggy jerk off way possible, right? But that's essentially what it is. Like imagine you're watching, like your whole life is looking through your phone, and then you have the ability to like kind of like step like a foot back from that and see like, whoa, holy shit, like everything I see is like filtered through this experience, and now I'm breaking that down a little. And I remember that during that experience, there's one part where I'm kind of like sitting down on a couch, and throughout this entire 6-hour trip, I keep having the thought, I did way too many mushrooms. I broke through into figuring out what actual reality is. I wish I could just go back. This is so fucking horrible. I took way too many mushrooms. I didn't want to come here. I made a mistake. I'm actually not ready for the real reality, which is
took the red pill.
I'm gonna go back and be fake. And the one thing that I took away from that trip was that kind of like very visceral thought. I'm a big like debate lord, brainiac, intellectual, whatever, like YouTube, whatever. Going into that trip, prior to that in my life, I always would have thought that like knowledge or intelligence is something that should be desired for sake of itself. Like knowledge is just good by virtue of it being knowledge. And then coming out of that trip, what I realized was, holy fuck, there might actually be some things that even if they're true, I don't know if I would actually want to know them. Like I prefer the fake reality of whatever this life is to the truth reality of like sitting in front of a TV that is the center of the universe that was like mushrooms. So maybe actually knowledge in and of itself isn't good. It's only knowledge that you can acquire that can make you happier. So that was like my big takeaway from that. This is going down a very far road, but that was like my big takeaway from that experience. Yeah.
I love it. Did you have a mushroom tour guide when you took it? Like I'm always told that if you're going to do something like this, you find an expert who makes sure your dosage is right. Make sure you have a good experience. Did you do that?
I'm so incredibly arrogant. Okay. I just am very arrogant. My goal was I wanted to have the worst trip possible. So what I did was there were 2 strangers and then a couple of kind of friends that I had, one of which was very persistent. I did it in an unknown environment. And then I took 3 times the recommended like big trip dose to just fucking blast my mind. Cause I was like, I'm probably just gonna get really high. And no, so I didn't have like anything like that. And it was the worst possible way that you could approach a trip like that. And because some people will listen to me describe it and like, oh, this sounds cool, like I should do it. If I would have more responsibly kind of dosed myself into having like good trips, I think I could have gotten all of the knowledge that I have now without like all of the horrible mental side effects that I seemed to suffer afterwards for at least a year or two. But yeah,
a year or two. So what would you call this, like 2017?
Fuck. I posted the video of my trip on YouTube somewhere, but I think it was a couple years ago. It was like 2018, 2019. So I'm about 2.5 years, I think, away from that experience right now. Yeah.
Wow. That's heavy.
But like every now and then I'll get like a bout of like, I guess so for some examples, there are 3 like distinct things I remember. So in one thing, I had a period of like 3 days. And now this might be where it feels bullshit because I'm tying this back to my mushroom experience. It might not be. Maybe it just randomly happened after I did mushrooms. There was a period of 3 days where I had like what I can only describe as like general anxiety disorder, like this weird general anxiety about the world. I am like a relentlessly confident person. The most I know, I feel very good about myself, my life, and everything. During this 3 day period, I still have the text log. I'm like texting my kid's mom saying like, hey, like, I need you to keep my kid away from me for the rest of my life. Like, I'm a horrible person. Like, don't ever let me see him again. Like, but like, I was just like unbelievable. And even looking back on this, like, what the fuck is happening in my head? And then I had another like very, very short period. It was like 2 or 3 days of like an experience of an absence of desire, which is actually the scariest fucking thing in the world. When you don't want to do anything and you don't have a desire to want to do anything. And I think that these two experiences gave me such a new perspective on mental illness. I had so much more respect for people that suffer with that on a daily basis. I've always been a person who it's like, hey, you know, if you're prescribed an SSRI, you know, do that in therapy. You should do whatever, you know, you need to fix your problems, blah, blah, blah. But personally, I would never take an SSRI because like my mind is too strong for that. I don't want to change myself, blah, 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 blah. When I was experiencing like these two states, I would have fucking lobotomized myself or taken any fucking drug or done anything I needed to break that. Because like when you're, yeah, it was just a horrible, horrible thing. One of the takeaways I have of like the human mind is I used to think that like 10% of your brain is like this weird underlying, you know, like subconscious mood shit. And then like 90% is like, these are your active thoughts. This is what you have control over. And I totally flipped that in and of itself, like to where now it feels like there's this whole under part of your mind that you are not really aware of. And then you think a little bit on top, but a lot of the credit goes into this lower stuff. And it does you well to understand that because you need to do what you can to fix that stuff rather than just like think like, oh, well, I can just be positive forever and blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Would you recommend it to people to try hallucinogens, or do you think it was a net negative, at least for you?
I would absolutely recommend it. I'm disappointed that I was 30 before. It's a whole other world. If you do psychedelics, and you should do them responsibly, but when you've been on a big trip, it is just nothing will ever. It's like a whole other world. It's the closest it's unbelievable. It's unimaginable. It's unbelievable. It's nothing like being high. It's just like I can't explain it. I can't. For those that have done it, they'll know. And then if you haven't, like, it sounds really stupid. And I mean, like, I hope I'm like,
scary.
It scares the shit out of me. So, like, I feel like 18 out of 20, 19 out of 20 have my shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, you want to re-roll? I don't think so. That sounds like a bad idea.
I mean, it's not going to like change you completely. Like, I think I'm more or less the same. Like, if you watch videos of me now and 3 years ago, like I'm still this rambunctious, loud asshole, blah, 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 blah. It gives me more perspective, I guess, which is good. I think gaining more perspective is always a positive. So,
what do you know? Joe Rogan knocks it out of the park with his hallucination recommendations.
You know what? I like stevia now. That son of a bitch was right about stevia.
Except shrooms aren't even as intense as he goes. Or I don't know the stack ranking of intensity, but he like talks about ayahuasca, which I think is cactus juice that you drink.
A lot of it depends. Yeah, a lot of it depends on dosages and everything as well. Like mushrooms or LSD can be very, very, very intense. Like I'm pretty sure a big mushroom or a big LSD trip can be similar to like a DMT trip, except mushrooms or LSD are worse because those last 6 hours or 12 hours respectively. Whereas for DMT, it feels like a long time, but 15 minutes and you're in and out. But like, yeah.
Ayahuasca and DMT are not the same thing, right?
I think Correct. DMT is an extract from ayahuasca, isn't it? Am I wrong on that?
I wouldn't.
Oh, shit.
Oh, maybe that's how they get it. I thought DMT was its own hyper intense
They sound totally different.
Yeah, they are different. You know.
Okay, wait. I'm just now I would sound like full of shit if I said so. Ayahuasca contains large concentrations of DMT, around 80 milligrams per 100 milliliter infusion, and may cause visual hallucination. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So ayahuasca is much different. The experience is a lot different than DMT. Like I think this is like a day long thing. You like purge from your body, you vomit and all this stuff to do like your big trip. Whereas DMT is generally smoked, and you do like 2 or 3 big hits, and then you have your huge breakthrough moment, and it's like 15 minutes in and out.
I have a couple friends.
What was that drug we were watching, or all of us, we were watching a long time ago, this drug where people would go into the Amazon and they would like
That's ayahuasca.
Was that ayahuasca?
I have a bunch of friends that have done ayahuasca. It's oddly popular in the paragliding community to do like go places and smoke ayahuasca.
People with so much money, they don't know what to do.
Robin Quivers from the Stern Show did it. And she talks about just vomiting a lot.
There's that, but they come back changed, right? They're changed. They're like, I have a new thing. I'm ditching social media. I have this broader outlook, love and peace, and I have discovered what life should be about and how persons should be. and now I'm that person. And then 2.5 weeks later, they're the old person.
Yeah. It's just all it is.
You need more ayahuasca.
Yeah, apparently you got to top it off every couple of weeks.
All it is a new perspective. That's it. You can go through it in a crazy experience, and in a week you can get back to normal. Or I like the way that I would describe it is like, imagine if you could go into a room and somebody could show you 5 new colors that you could have never imagined seeing before. Like that's what it's like.
That sounds appealing.
Yeah, but
I like colors.
Can't imagine that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm doing so well with the color palette I have.
I had a rough time on mushrooms. They caused a panic attack. It was just very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you went to Walmart. That was your bad.
I mean, that seemed like the best place to have a trip.
Oh no,
he's not wrong.
Are you hungry on mushrooms or no?
The people there already look like monsters, though.
You want to be where the other people are tripping, I guess.
Look at these people; they're so hideous. Dude, you're not even tripping yet. This is Walmart.
We're only 5 minutes in, dude. Yeah,
yeah. It was.
And this is the kind of Walmart with a Cracker Barrel in the parking lot. So double dipping.
It has a Sonny's barbecue in the parking lot, actually, which is where we retreated to. It was our safe place.
You know, something with hallucinogens is you never hear about people, or at least I don't. You never hear about people getting addicted to them, like someone who's addicted to LSD or someone that's addicted to ayahuasca.
No, am I wrong? One of the nice things about psychedelics is that like you can, when you do mushrooms or LSD, those are the two I have experience with, or I imagine it's probably the same for DMT and other types of hallucinogenics. Like when you do those and then you're done, you're like, oh, all right, glad I did that. It's not something that it's like, I got to do that again and again and again. It's just not that type of thing. I wish I could describe it better. It's hard to say. It's kind of like, I don't know if I compare it to like swimming across like kind of a scary river. Like it's the water's moving, not so much that you're going to die, but like if you fuck up, maybe you will. And there's like a waterfall over there. So you swim across the river and you make it to the other side. And you're like, oh, fuck. Like, that's awesome that I made it. I'm really glad I did it. I had a lot of fun. It was kind of scary. I don't need to do that again and again and again. Like I'm good on that. Like generally people will do it and then maybe like 6 months later, a year, they'll do it. But there are some people who will do like every week.
Repeatedly. That sounds like, I would, swimming across dangerous rivers. Like, I don't know. Define death. I do that.
How funny would that be?
If you want to feel like
addicted to shrooms,
the big mushroom experience, then that might be for you. The thing that I said over and over again while I was tripping, especially in the beginning, next to the guy on the couch, I was begging him over again, like, please don't let me die. Don't let me die. I think I'm dying. Please don't let me die. I said that like a million fucking times. So if a death-like experience is what you're looking for, ego death, literally, you'll have the feeling of being dead. That's really hard to explain, but yeah.
That sounds so scary. Yeah. So can you see yourself like, I know, Kyle, you can't. Everybody's begging for drinking episodes because it's been years because of your situation.
It pains me.
And I know, Woody, you hate drinking more than anything in the world. Maybe next time Kyle and I'll drink, you can do a shrooms.
No, you're fucking.
You take shrooms over there. Kyle and I'll drink here. We'll kind of steer the ship.
You made it worse.
We could. I think they're legal now in Washington State or maybe Oregon, somewhere up there. Like shrooms are legal.
They're legal everywhere if you're sneaky.
No, Taylor, I'll do shrooms if you do battery acid.
So yeah, I'll do shrooms if we go.
I'll just get very sick.
If we go to where mushrooms are legal, I'll do mushrooms. And obviously, if we go to where pot is legal, I'll just get crazy high. I'll take 1,000 milligrams of edibles and just melt down on the show. I don't care.
Would that not be the worst show ever? Like this is the sleeping episode?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm going to say some things.
No, it'd be
okay. I don't know. You would. I don't know.
Weed next to you like it hit, like booze hits other people. You're just like, and another thing. It's like, hey, did he drink anything? No, he's just really stoned.
Let me tell you how I feel about Egyptians.
Man.
just really weird racism. Let me tell you how I feel about Estonia. Oh, I'm started now. Forget not getting me started. Those Estonians.
I've always thought about like doing like a psychedelic stream would. I always think like maybe it'd be fun, but the reality is it's not really the same from the outside as it is on the inside. So basically, you'd be like sitting there on camera, like with your eyes going wide, and no one would have any fucking idea what's going on. It's very internal, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been around people when, like in a babysitting scenario. Not that I chose to babysit, just that I didn't do any, and they were on shrooms. And I remember like thinking about it. This was in college. It's the first time I'd been around a bunch of people doing shrooms. And I was like, this is going to be wild. This is like Harold and Kumar style stuff. Like silliness is on the way. And it's like, no, they spent an enormous amount of time staring and then one of their sober friends got them in his like SUV with a moonroof, and they're like, "We're going to the gas station to get sodas." They were gone for 4.5 hours.
Yeah.